So I'm just trying to fill in with a couple of just videos while I'm working towards getting the wax thing ready. And thought I'd talk a little bit about this thing, especially because this week I saw a couple of different posts in the Lava Lamp Reddit forum, a couple other places, about people saying, I have this big glass vase or I have a big glass container. I'm going to use it to make a giant lava lamp. Or can I use it to make a giant lava lamp? I think I saw both. And the short answer to that question was, can you make a giant lava lamp out of a typical glass container? Yes. A better answer is don't. Um, which is weird advice for me to give because I own and made this thing, which is the globe on it is a traditional glass. I think it was a vase, realistically. I think I bought it as a when I bought it, it was marketed as a large corner of the room vase. It is traditional glass, which making a lava lamp out of traditional glass is usually a bad idea. Um, Small lamps, like you see people all the time post lamps they made out of liquor bottles and things like that. That's generally going to be probably all right when you do it because typically small scale lamps use very small bulbs, and the amount of energy released from those bulbs and the amount of heat released from those bulbs isn't much to make that lamp function. Um, Lamps you traditionally buy are made of borosilicate, which is it's Pyrex, more or less. Um, the best thing about Pyrex is it holds up to temperature, or borosilicate is it holds up to temperature changes, which typical glass does not. And borosilicate holds up to pressure a little bit better than typical glass too. But oh, that's the other thing too is I saw somebody talking about how colossuses or colossi, whatever, the globes on that were not borosilicate. Somebody was saying it as a fact. That's not true. Sorry. The Colossus definitely had a borosilicate globe. I think that a rumor might have started saying that. They weren't because we all know that some of them have broken during use, not from impact. Plenty of them, I'm sure, have broken from impact. The Colossus was definitely a borosilicate globe. Um, there's ways to identify regular glass compared to normal glass, but even then, there's things that I did while prepping that Colossus that I recently did that would not have held up if it was traditional glass. But anyways, it doesn't matter. So this is a traditional glass vase on here. It's not borosilicate. And before a few years ago, or a couple of years ago, when I decided to make it, everybody told me not to do it, and they were correct in giving me that advice. This was and is a bad idea. It is an incredible lamp when it operates. But someday, while I'm operating, even though I've taken every step imaginable to try and prevent it from happening, this lamp will break because it is just glass and there are visible imperfections in it. And I tested the hell out of this glass, putting water into it and other things into it before I made the lamp that were way hotter than what is going to happen inside of this lamp in any of its operation. There's some other things. I have a new dimmer programmed over here that will incrementally heat this thing very slowly over 8 hours to its operating temperature. And then when I trigger it, it will incrementally decrease the temperature on this lamp so it slowly cools. I think that this lamp probably would have been safe cooling because there's so much energy held in this lamp while it's running that I think just the heat dissipating from all the wax and the fluid probably would have cooled it slow enough that there probably wouldn't have been a problem from that. But just knowing how glass operates compared to borosilicate, this lamp will someday fail. And any large scale lamp that you make out of traditional glass will someday fail. This thing's probably only been run 60 times, maybe, in the few years I've had it, just because it takes a long time to start up, and I usually start it for family gatherings and things like that. And then, but anyways, what it is otherwise is the base. All of this is actually getting the surface redone tomorrow, so it'll match this. I'd like to get rid of this, so it would just rest on this. Um, but it does house kind of everything I have going on in there. Plus, there's a gasket where the glass meets the aluminum in here. Plus, there's a little bit of room for it to expand. So if it ever kind of jostles or burps or hops or anything, it shouldn't, for a different reason, which I'll get to in a second. It's not going to come down on aluminum. This cap will eventually change because it looks awful and it's just a 3D printed mess. I'll get a cool nose cone made out of aluminum at some point, or convert a propeller spinner into one or something. But underneath is just another machined piece of aluminum with a gasket that's open in two places on it. So it's just like half a gasket. So that way it will allow it to breathe both ways. So this thing will never build pressure and it'll never create a vacuum because it will release pressure and then allow pressure back in once it's cooling. The wax in it is a couple of batches of wax out of a couple of grandes actually that were unfortunately broken in my early days of messing with grandes. Not that I still can't break them, and I'm sure I will break more at some point when I'm messing around with them. It's just the nature of playing with lamps every weekend. But that's the other thing about why you shouldn't use glass, especially in these large lamps, is I think this lamp takes like 6 gallons, which with the wax and everything else, you're somewhere around 40, call it 40 pounds of fluid and wax in this thing. So just the weight of that, especially while it's heating, just gives one more force for this lamp to have to absorb and contain with typical glass, even if it's not under pressure. There's 40 pounds of stuff that's constantly providing weight to the bottom of this, and then plus the expansion of the glass and other things like that. Someday this lamp will break, and at that point I will bite the bullet and I will have somebody make me a borosilicate version of this, probably bigger, and then I will never have to worry about it again. But for now, it is glass. So if you want to make a lamp like this, I strongly advise not to do it. But I'm not your dad, I'm not your boss. Do whatever you want, but this is my warning where it's a bad idea to do it, because I've taken every step to try to ensure that this thing's not breaking, and it's still going to break someday. You just should not use glass in large scale lamps like this. Small scale stuff like this, you probably get away with it, but the large stuff like this, it's just, you got a lot of forces going on already, and to combine that with the weight of the amount of wax and fluid you need to use with this probably isn't the best idea. Everybody wants a Colossus. Everybody wants, or a Humongo, or a what do they call the Mathmos giant lamps you can get over there? Saturns, I think, or the old Mathmos rockets. There, I think they were called the Saturn rocket. I don't remember. Those are the coolest lamps ever made. But everybody wants one, and I can see that. That's why I have this, because at the time I was looking for a Humongo or a Colossus, and I couldn't get one, and I needed to have a giant lamp in my life. And everybody told me don't do this. So I should have listened to them, but I didn't. And I have this thing. And there's no fluid in it right now. This thing needed a refresher because it's not sealed. The fluid does get bad every year and a half or so because it's just essentially open. And I saw it the other day with the holidays coming up. I decided I would replace the fluid. I actually filtered some, but I'll probably just end up replacing all of it. Doesn't matter. I did notice that the stainless coils that I put in this were definitely rusting. I'm going to ignore it for now and go through the holidays with it. They should still work and might add some weird colors to the wax, but I think at some point I might make a new batch for this anyways if it doesn't break during the holidays when I'm running it. But it is incredibly cool. I will do a video talking while this thing's flowing at some point. There is a video early in my page that shows this thing up in operation. It is very cool, but it's not a lamp I am at all comfortable with or telling people to do anything like it, because, like I said, at its core, it's a terrible, terrible idea. One of the answers to, I saw somebody who had a big colored, like clearly hand-blown vase about this big, like, I should make this into a lamp. Stuff like that is really poor quality glass and will break probably as soon as you touch it with any water close to the temp that you're going to be operating the lamp at. Plus, this thing has a 300-watt incandescent in here. It's a non-refractor bulb or reflector bulb. So it's probably not producing as much directional heat as like the 250 even that went into the Colossus that I made, but the Colossus is borosilicate, so I was less worried about it. But the 300 I have in here works well. I was going to change it to something else, but I even tried, when I was originally making this, I tried some silicone heating elements and things like that. I wanted that to work. It didn't. But I tried silicone heating elements. I wanted to try like reptile heaters too, like some of the other lamps, but I wanted it to produce light on its own. So I ended up where I am. And while it runs, it is incredibly cool. But again, it's a bad idea. This lamp is a terrible, terrible idea, and it will eventually fail. But before it does, we can observe it and say it's really cool. I'll put the fluid back in sometime this week. Once this gets machined, this gets the surface redone on this to match this. Um, and I'll get it up and running, and I'll do a video talking about some other nonsense while it's going. Um, and we'll do that. So bear with me. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. I'll probably post something before then. But if you haven't liked the Free Grande lamp, that videos for the Free Grande, like and subscribe to my channel. Comment on that video. You can win the lamp. There's 2 videos. Either one works. All the people I saw commenting on both videos. Not a bad idea. I probably won't catch it, but doesn't matter. But so if you haven't done that yet, I'm going to be giving that lamp away the 14th. It's a very cool Grande lamp. I'm going to pay for shipping. I'm going to get it to you as long as you're in the continental U.S. Um, and I think that's all I wanted to talk about. And even though this thing is empty at the moment, it still looks pretty tasty. And drinking it probably wouldn't be the best idea. So don't drink yours.